What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday. Today we're going to be talking about the Robot Paradise sound wave or acoustic wave, which we previously knew as Fans Toys acoustic wave, and kind of the ins and outs and all that I know and all that I'm speculating on and all of those things. I woke up to a ton of text messages and DMs and PMs and all of the etceteras. Give me a minute to get my thoughts together, and I promise you I will address all big stuff. I promise. You have my word. In fact, we're going to push back the Starscream verses until next week in order to cover this week, right? We have to be flexible. The circumstances must always dictate the action. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. Just want to say I'm glad that everybody enjoyed the interview last week, and the uncut is still on Patreon. The response was overwhelmingly positive from that, which is nice to see because I didn't want him to catch any negative feedback. I'm okay with catching it, but I didn't want him to catch a stray, as it were. As for the New Age Cyclops, I had a complete goof moment, and when I put it up as New Age Spock. I can't keep track of these third-party names. When I went to upload the video, I was just called the thing New Age Shockwave, right? Which is on me, but when I uploaded the video, I just typed into Google real quick New Age Shockwave, and I guess Magic Squares came up, and when I saw it was Spock, so that's what I made the thumbnail and all that stuff about. So my bad, I fixed it as soon as I could. Tremendous little figure, though. We will be comparing that in the Magic Square as well. And then, lastly, the Starscream just went up today. So far, I haven't had a whole bunch of backlash. Usually I expect it when I don't like something from like one of the bigger companies. From what I'm seeing out there, people seem to be pretty split on this guy, 50-50. I just happen to fall on the tail side of that coin of the 50-50. A really unfortunate piece, in my opinion. And you're gonna get a ton more. That are gonna take a lot more slots for your year. Of course, you're getting the Thundercracker and Skyward, but you're gonna get the Sunstorm, you're gonna get the Acid Storm, you're gonna get the purple one, you know what I mean? It's all coming. Good luck to you. And with that, I think we can go ahead and get started with this week's Sit Down Saturday. And look, years and years and years ago, Fans Toys was planning on doing a sound wave. But Takara had a sound wave coming, so they took theirs away, and we didn't hear from it. It was actually supposed to be their second release, I believe. Their first release was the Optimus Prime trailer. That was going to be their second, and then Shockwave was going to be their third, and they just skipped right to their third. Now, this does establish a bit of a history with Fans Toys needing to separate themselves from Takara and stay out of the way of any potential competition. This isn't the only time we've seen this. We also know that they have a blaster ready, but I think they were concerned that a blaster was coming from Takara as well. When they did the grinder, they made sure to do a whole different head for the Don, and then they released the head separately. There was all this nonsense going on with that one. They're intimidated by Takara. I think that they have established a trend where we can kind of confidently sit back and say they are trying to stay out of the way as much as possible. But we did see, years later, well after Takara had done their sound wave, that they were going to go back to the drawing board with theirs and kind of give it a little bit new life and put out a new sound wave based on their old design. We saw this at a TFCon a couple years ago. But with all the things that have been going on with Fans Toys recently that have kind of left us a little unsure of their position, and I'm not going to take too much time on that here. You can go back and watch my previous Sit Down Saturdays discussing that and the dummy stuff as well. But things have seemed at the very least unstable. And then all of a sudden we get Robot Paradise acoustic wave or whatever it is that they're calling it, which is clearly Fans Toys. This is the second time that they've done something and they have retitled it something else, but it's clearly been what they said it is. Does that make sense? They did it with Cesium, their second take on Slag, and they did it initially with Cyclonus only to switch it back to Fans Toys later on, but that was initially under the Perfect Fusion branding, which also carried the Cesium. Now, Perfect Fusion, they were kind of out in the open about. It was supposed to be a line with less die-cast. It was going to be a little bit more affordable. It was going to have less of the bells and whistles, I think, to get a lot of the smaller characters. But it was supposed to be like their Camry to their Lexus, if that makes sense. But they called it quits. And I think because it was pretty obvious to everybody that it was Fans Toys, no one was calling it Perfect Fusion. That branding never really caught on. Everybody just called it Fans Toys. So it was really weird to see them do the exact same thing. And make no mistake, this is the exact same thing. In just weeks after they announced the Trailbreaker and Hoist under the Fans Toys brand. So it's not like they're changing their brand. This figure's just coming out under a different branding. And the question is why and all of those things. And we're going to get there. But first, with the reveal of this figure, I think that we do need to talk about it.
And I think he looks pretty good. Now, in a lot of these promo pictures, they show pictures of him or images of him, but they don't show really the tape that he comes with. They show tapes that are way more enticing and alluring for you to make a purchase, which is interesting. But I like the sculpt of this guy generally, like especially the lower legs. Like it just has a little bit more life to it. It seems a little bit more realistic to me, but still in that G1 flavor. Even the Toon version has like just a little bit more going on. Not a lot. I wish it had a lot, but it doesn't. It has a little bit, but even a little bit is enough to get you by. This is, I'm guessing, still based on older engineering from them because he has double jointed elbows, it seems, which is something they don't really do anymore. So that's kind of nice to see. It's also kind of inspiring and reassuring. And they show a picture with him in 4 tapes. But what's weird to me is that they don't show Buzzsaw. My guess is that they'll probably do a Sound Blaster and include Buzzsaw there. That's the only thing that I can come to terms with because I don't know why that would be such an obvious omission on their part if not to double down on a future release. Probably put maybe Rat-Bat in there too, would be my guess. It's also reassuring to see that he's going to come with both guns, that Rumble's going to come with his pile drivers, like all the kind of standard accessories that you expect to come with the Soundwave and tape set are going to be here. And not for nothing, that Ravage looks phenomenal. Far better than the Masterpiece offering. But I still prefer the MMC scaling of most of these tapes, maybe with the exception of Laserbeak. Nice little dynamic pose that they show as well. Hands look well articulated. The knee gets you at least 90 degrees. It does have hip flaps, but I don't think that's the biggest deal in the world. Easily forgivable. And then it's cool that they have the option to kind of turn it into the more G1 style. When I say G1, I mean toy style. Just a little thing that they didn't have to do, and they did. And I wonder if you can mix and match the two. Meaning, if I could have the side pieces, so to speak, from the G1 style, but have the kind of clean front piece of the cartoon style. It is interesting to see this character in the white and blue as opposed to the kind of silver and blue that we've been seeing on our shelves for so long. I'm not sure which I prefer at the end of the day. I know that one is more accurate than the other. I get all that. But that Takara one is still one of my favorites to this day. And we see that this guy is going to come with Frenzy.
I've got a solution for this Rumble Frenzy thing, by the way, while we're here. You ready? I've solved it. So the truth is we're both right. Rumble is red, and Rumble is also blue. Frenzy is red, and Frenzy is also blue. Now, to those that feel that way, for instance, I feel like Rumble is blue and Frenzy is red, and to those who feel the opposite, you have to keep that same energy. I'm gonna keep that same energy, you gotta keep that same energy. So I'm going with mine because that's how the cartoon was, and I know they got it wrong from the toys, but that's how the cartoon was, and that's kind of more my basis for my collection, so I want everything to kind of look in the style of the cartoon. And for those that feel the opposite, you gotta keep that same energy also, and your collection needs to look like the G1 toy. That's what you need to do. That's how your collection is going to go. You'll never hear a peep out of me. Frenzy can be blue if your collection looks like this guy. Is that what you want? Let's continue.
And only Frenzy. Why? Because of the 4 tapes that they're making currently, he's the least popular, and they can get you to double down on that tape purchase. That's why, in case you're not following. That's 100% why. But the alt mode looks great. Looks like it comes with a ton of accessories. It does look like I'll be able to keep those side panels on and mix and match the kind of G1 versus toy look. So all in all, it's a pretty interesting set.
And with that out of the way, I think we have to address kind of the biggest elephant in the room, right? Which is why the name change. I think the most obvious and kind of easy answer to pull from, the lowest hanging fruit, if you will, is that they would feel pressure from Takara and as a result want to get out of the way. They have a history of doing this. They show that they care about what Takara is doing, so it makes sense. Except that Soundwave mold from Takara is so old. Unless there's rumor, I would imagine that the rumor mill over there is a lot louder and more grandiose than it is here. Perhaps they are privy to rumors that we are not privy to, and perhaps another Soundwave from Takara is coming. This would make a little bit of sense because they've just put out a Bumblebee. They've just put out another Optimus. They just put out another Starscream. And now it would make sense to do Soundwave. Double back and rake in the money from the big selling bots. Another Megatron too, if you think about it. I mean, that's 5 out of the iconic 6, right? So it would make sense to me that Takara would go that way. But if they're not going that way, I don't know why Fans Toys would even bother. It's not like people don't know who it is. It's obvious. So why do it? It just seems like such a rudimentary thing. It seems like such a semantic and pedantic kind of thing. Semantic, pedantic, Anakin, panic, and mannequin. It seems like unless there's something that comes down to like legal footnotes with wording, contracts, whatever, that there's something that I'm not privy to or wouldn't know about because I'm not in that business, that it would just be a waste of time. If they were worried about pressure from Hasbro, Takara, whatever, they know. They know this is you. So like, why go through it? It's like a giraffe putting on a foxtail from an anime convention. Like, dude, the neck gives it away. They know it's still a giraffe. So I don't know. It's obviously the most clear and kind of in-your-face answer. I'm just not sure if it makes any sense. Perhaps they're rebranding. Perhaps they have something, this whole like G1 toy to G1 cartoon thing is going to be in its own separate brand of this Robot Paradise, and they'll do a line in that vein. I just, that seems crazy too. I don't know, man. That's what I got. And I know it's not that satisfying. So let's talk about the other elephant in the room, and perhaps this isn't as much an elephant as it is a hippo. Not quite as big as it or in your face, but you're gonna notice. We're on an animal vibe today. It's like the Skullface Safari. And that's the price. So look, this is what I know, and maybe I should see this is what I am led to believe. Fans Toys is not dictating the price in the States, if anywhere. So when they sell their units to distributors in the East or the West, they're not saying, hey, this is the MSRP. You gotta sell it for this. To my understanding, which is, to be fair, based on a lot of people's input, most of which have been forced to close their doors in selling third-party products for one reason or another. But that's my understanding. So that would mean that retailers are setting the price. So the question is, are the prices fair? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know unless I see what they're getting per unit. I would imagine that most retailers here are charging at most $100 over what they're buying it for, and at minimum $50 over what they're buying it for, and that's after shipping and taxes and all that stuff. That would be my guess, somewhere between that. Is that fair? I think so, probably a relatively fair price. The distributors have to eat too, right? Everybody has to eat. But recently it was brought to my attention from Diecast, shout out to Diecast, about Taobao sellers and why they're able to sell it so much cheaper. And the truth is with that is I don't know either, but it is available there. However, let's talk about that a little bit. Taobao is like a marketplace or an eBay type site in the East. You can get stuff a lot cheaper there. It does come with certain risks though, especially if you're an English speaking person. It may be more difficult to communicate. It can be a little bit more of a hassle if there's an issue, customer service, etc. They're not paying import fees. They're not paying import taxes. They're not paying shipping fees in regards to their product because they're all Chinese based for the most part. So they're not dealing with any of that, and they're able to sell it for cheaper as a result. You just have to decide if the risk is worth the reward for you. Now keep in mind, you're going to have to pay for shipment. You may very well have to pay for import fees and taxes. So all of those things are going to factor in for you on the bottom line, probably. And I mean, and there's so much mystery with that stuff, right? And aliases and everything else. For all we know, those Taobao sellers could be Fans Toys themselves. You just don't know. And there also comes with, I mean, I can't speak for you guys, but for me, like, I'm uncomfortable doing a lot of business on those type of sites. I like doing business domestically because if I have an issue, I can make a phone call and start sorting it out. That's important for me. If it's not important for you, then you must do what's right for yourself. Once again, the circumstances dictate the action. Now, the other question is in regards to how this stuff is selling out so fast. And basically, Fans Toys is limiting the numbers that people can buy. They're not producing as much. Why that is anybody's guess. It could be for faster turnaround. It could be that they are trying to make more characters and as a result are making less figures in a run. But it's really impossible for me to say as to why. But it's happening, except for Spindrift. And look what happened there. What Fans Toys has basically done is made, and you guys know I'm a defender. I'm a card-carrying defender. But it doesn't mean I can't be critical of them. What they've basically done is turned retail into an exclusive. So even though it's available at all retail, it's still an exclusive because of the limited amount of numbers. And they've raised the price, I think we can say confidently at this point, because they know their value on the secondary market. So they've kind of tried to start edging out the secondary market, I think, in order to get all of that money up front for them. If you were selling something for $60 and you knew that people were just turning around and selling it for $300 in a year, wouldn't you feel like you needed some of that money if you could get it? And I think that's how they feel. In many ways, Fans Toys has become the opposite of G.I. Joe Classified. Where G.I. Joe Classified is hard to get because it goes to one distributor and you don't know when they're going to get it or where they're going to get it or how they're going to get it, and you're just left to walking into the store and wondering whether or not you're going to be successful. Fans Toys has done the opposite, but it ends to the lead result. It's going to every store, but the numbers are so limited that the time that you have in order to secure one has become even more restrictive, but both are ending up at the same space with unsatisfied customers. And unsatisfied customers only stick around for so long. Fans Toys has to strike some sort of balance here, both in terms of price and in terms of quantity. If they make more, the secondary market won't be able to skyrocket because more people will be able to get it at release, especially if they strike deals with distributors that require them to put caps on how many many each person can buy. Either way, every move that this company is making, of which I am a huge fan, every move that they're making is getting more and more curious and more mind-boggling. But I'm here for it. See how it shakes out. I hope that helps in some regard, or at least give you some sort of insight into something. It's a mystery wrapped in a conundrum. I wish them the best, as I wish for all of you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.